The crystalline-skinned alien shimmered under the harsh fluorescent lights of the detention cell. Her name was Navarra, though the humans had assigned her the designation Specimen L7. The Lamidians were renowned across 3 galaxies for their bioluminescent physiology, skin that absorbed and emitted light in patterns that served as both communication and camouflage. Now, those patterns flickered weakly across her translucent epidermis, indicating distress and exhaustion. Lieutenant Darius Wolf watched her through the one-way glass, his weathered face reflecting none of the inner conflict that had been growing inside him for weeks. At 35, he was Interstellar Fleet's most decorated interrogation specialist, known for extracting information from the most resistant subjects. But Navarra was different. Still nothing useful from the Starlight Freak. Colonel Hastings barked, entering the observation room with his perpetual scowl. "The Joint Chiefs are breathing down my neck, Wolf. We need to know about the Lamidian defense systems before the summit." "She's resistant to standard techniques, sir," Darius replied evenly. "Their neural pathways are unlike anything we've encountered. I believe a more nuanced approach might yield better results." Hastings snorted. "Nuanced? We don't have time for your ethical hang-ups, Lieutenant. The future of humanity depends on getting that information." He thrust a datapad into Darius's hands. "New authorization. Level 5 interrogation protocols are now approved." Darius knew what that meant. Neurological probes, pain inducers, potentially permanent damage to the subject. His stomach churned, but his face remained impassive. "Understood, sir. I'll begin immediately." When Hastings left, Darius took a moment to steady himself before entering the detention cell. The air inside carried a faint scent of ozone and something sweeter, like distant flowers, a peculiarity of Lamidian physiology. "Good morning, Navarra," he said, deliberately using her name rather than her designation. The alien's luminous eyes, pools of swirling silver and blue, locked onto his. "You use my true name when others are not listening. Why?" Her voice held a melodic quality, each word seeming to shimmer in the air between them. "Because names matter," Darius replied, setting up his equipment with practiced efficiency while avoiding the newly authorized neural probes. "I'd prefer if you'd call me Darius rather than human jailer as well." A pattern of light rippled across her skin, the Lamidian equivalent of a rueful smile. "Very well, Darius. Have you come to extract more information I cannot give?" He paused, his hand hovering over the control panel. "I need to understand your planetary defense systems." "To better annihilate my people?" The lights beneath her skin pulsed red momentarily. "Your military leaders don't seek understanding, only dominance." Darius leaned closer, lowering his voice. "What if I told you not all humans share those objectives? Not all of us believe in the doctrine of Earth First." Navarra's eyes narrowed, the swirling colors intensifying. Then, unexpectedly, she reached forward, her crystalline fingers touching his temple before he could react. The contact lasted only seconds before the cell's automated defense system engaged, sending a painful shock through Navarra's restraints. She gasped but didn't cry out as the current forced her back against the wall. "What was that?" Darius demanded, his heart racing. "I had to know," she whispered, the patterns on her skin now fluctuating wildly. "Had to see beyond your words." "See what?" Her eyes met his, suddenly filled with new understanding. "Your truth. You're different. You question your orders. You dream of cooperation, not conquest." Darius swallowed hard, glancing nervously at the surveillance cameras. Had they caught that moment of contact? "That's not relevant to our discussion," he said loudly for the benefit of anyone monitoring. "It's the only thing that matters," Navarra replied, her voice growing stronger. "You know what they've done to the other Lamidians they've captured? The experiments, the dissections." He did know. He'd seen the classified reports, the systematic dismantling of living beings in search of the secret to their light manipulation abilities. Technology that Earth's military believed could revolutionize their stealth and weapons systems. Over the next 3 weeks, something shifted in their daily sessions. Officially, Darius reported minimal progress with conventional techniques. Unofficially, he and Navarra talked about her home world's crystal forests, about Earth's oceans that she'd never seen, about the escalating tensions between their species built on misunderstandings and fear. "My people don't want war," she told him during one unrecorded conversation. "We've always been knowledge keepers, not warriors. The technologies your leaders covet were developed for exploration, for healing." "Then why won't your government negotiate?" Darius asked. Navarra's skin dimmed to a deep blue. "Because they've seen inside the minds of your leaders, just as I've seen inside yours." The revelation stunned him. "You've been reading more than just my surface thoughts, haven't you?" "It's how we connect," she admitted. "Full understanding requires full openness. My touch that first day, it created a bond. I've been receiving impressions from you ever since." The implications terrified him. "Then you know everything? About the planned invasion? About Operation Starfall?" "Yes," she whispered. "And now I understand why you've been protecting me from the neural probes. They wouldn't just extract information. They would destroy the very essence of what makes my people unique." Darius made a decision, then that would change everything. "I'm going to help you escape." The words hung between them, treason given voice. But before they could discuss it further, the cell door burst open. Colonel Hastings stood there with 4 armed guards, his face contorted with rage. "Lieutenant Wolfe, you're relieved of duty," he snarled. "Our monitoring systems detected unauthorized telepathic communication. You've been compromised." The guard seized Darius, roughly disarming him. "Colonel, I can explain," he began. "Save it for your court-martial," Hastings cut him off. "As for the alien," he turned to Navarra with a cold smile. "We've been too gentle, too respectful of alien sensibilities." Darius struggled against his captors. "Sir, the Geneva Interstellar Conventions clearly prohibit." "Conventions apply to recognized sentient races," Hastings interrupted. "The Joint Chiefs have reclassified Lamidians as non-sentient energy-based organisms." His smile widened. "Which means no more ethical constraints on our research methods." The next morning, Navarra was dragged from her cell to the central plaza of the military complex. Hundreds of personnel had been assembled to witness what Hastings called a demonstration of consequences. Navarra stood proudly despite the heavy restraints that suppressed her natural luminescence. Her once brilliant skin now appeared dull, almost gray. Darius watched from where he was held under guard, awaiting transfer to the military prison. His face throbbed from the interrogation he'd received after his arrest, but the physical pain was nothing compared to the anguish of watching what came next. This alien creature attempted to subvert a human officer through illegal telepathic manipulation, Hastings announced to the gathered crowd. "Before we ship it to advanced research for final processing, it will experience the consequences of its actions." He gestured, and soldiers approached with buckets filled with a viscous gray substance. Darius recognized it immediately: light-absorbing nanopolymer, specifically designed to block the photosynthetic properties of Lamidian skin. For a species that literally lived on light, it was tantamount to slow suffocation. "No," Darius shouted, lunging forward only to be clubbed back by his guards. The first bucket was thrown, splashing across Navarra's face and shoulders. Where the polymer touched, her skin went completely dark, the natural patterns extinguished. She shuddered but remained standing. "The alien who dared to love a human will learn its place in the cosmic order," Hastings proclaimed as more soldiers stepped forward with their buckets. Navarra's eyes found Darius through the crowd. Even as they covered her with the suffocating substance, a single point of light continued to pulse at her throat, in the exact rhythm of Darius's heartbeat. "We are connected now," her voice whispered in his mind. "And through us, others will understand. This is not the end, Darius Wolfe. It is the beginning of something your people cannot imagine." As the last bucket was emptied, Navarra stood completely coated in the black substance, her light seemingly extinguished. But Darius could still feel her presence in his mind, a beacon that wouldn't die. And in that moment, as the assembled soldiers were ordered to return to their duties, as Hastings gloated over his apparent victory, Darius understood what Navarra had meant. Their connection had changed him irrevocably. The revolution would begin with a single light in darkness, and he would be its catalyst. Revolution in stardust. The military transport rumbled through the night, its anti-gravity engines humming as it carried Navarra toward the advanced research facility. Inside, two guards sat across from the completely blackened Lamidian, their expressions a mixture of disgust and fascination. "How much longer do you think it'll survive?" one whispered, gesturing toward Navarra's light-deprived form. "Who cares?" the other replied. "Heard they're just going to dissect it anyway. Slice it up to see how those light organs work." Neither noticed the faint pulse of light that had begun to emerge from beneath the nanopolymer coating, a slow, steady rhythm matching a heart that beat kilometers away. In the brig of Central Command, Darius Wolf sat with his head in his hands. The connection between them had grown stronger since the public humiliation ceremony. Navarra's presence flickered at the edges of his consciousness like a distant flame, getting weaker by the hour. He couldn't explain the bond that had formed, but he knew with absolute certainty that if she died, something irreplaceable would be lost, not just to him, but to all of humanity. The cell door slid open with a hydraulic hiss. Darius looked up, expecting another interrogation. Instead, technical specialist Orion Rhodes stood in the doorway, his lanky frame tense with urgency. "We don't have much time," Rhodes whispered, glancing nervously down the corridor. "The surveillance feed is looping for exactly 4 minutes." Darius stared at the man he barely knew. "Why are you doing this?" Rhodes' fingers tapped anxiously against his thigh. "Because I've seen the classified files. What they're doing to the Lamidians, it's monstrous. And because I heard what she said to you in the plaza." "You heard?" "Not with my ears." Rhodes tapped his temple. "In here. When she reached out to you, some of us felt it too. Those of us who aren't completely closed off." He extended his hand. "Are you coming or not?" Minutes later, they moved through the maintenance tunnels beneath Central Command. Rhodes had disabled their tracking implants and provided black tactical gear from the supply depot. "There are others like you?" Darius asked as they reached a service exit. "More than you'd think," Rhodes replied. "Not everyone buys the Joint Chiefs propaganda about alien threats. Some of us have been watching, waiting for a sign." He pushed open the heavy door. "Your Lamidian just provided it." A hover bike waited outside, its engine silenced. "I've calculated the transport's route," Rhodes explained, activating a holographic map. "They'll pass through Sector 7 in 20 minutes. That's our best chance to intercept." "Against armed guards with just the two of us." Rhodes smiled thinly. "Who said it's just the two of us?" The ambush was perfectly executed. As the transport entered the narrow canyon of Sector 7, electromagnetic pulses disabled its engines and communication systems. Before the guards could react, the vehicle was surrounded by a dozen figures in unmarked tactical gear. "Military police," someone shouted. "Mandatory inspection." When the confused guards opened the rear doors, smoke grenades filled the compartment. In the chaos, Darius slipped inside, finding Navarra's still form on the floor. Her once luminous body was almost completely dark now, only the faintest pulse visible at her throat. "Navarra," he whispered, gathering her in his arms. "Stay with me." Her eyes, dulled to a flat gray, flickered open. "Darius, you came." "Of course I did," he said, carrying her from the transport. "I feel you dying. I couldn't let that happen." Outside, Rhodes' team had efficiently subdued the guards without casualties. A sleek civilian shuttle now hovered nearby, its boarding ramp extended. "Is she alive?" Rhodes asked, helping Darius carry Navarra aboard. "Barely. We need to get this polymer off her." Once inside, the shuttle took off, accelerating rapidly to escape Earth's orbital jurisdiction. A woman with sharp features and medic insignia approached, examining Navarra's blackened form. "I'm Vega," she introduced herself. "Former Xenobiology division before I discovered what they were really doing with my research." She ran a scanner over the Lamidian. "The nanopolymer is killing her. Her cells need light to function, like plants need photosynthesis." "Can you remove it?" Darius asked desperately. Vega hesitated. "We have a solvent, but her condition is critical." And even if we succeed, she'll need intense light therapy more powerful than anything our portable equipment can generate. The orbital station, Rhodes suggested. Laboratory 9 has experimental stellar simulation equipment. That's in the middle of a military installation, Vega protested. It's also where they're keeping the other captive Lamidians, Darius said quietly, the knowledge flowing through his connection with Navarra. She wasn't the only one. Rhodes exchanged glances with the others. Then that's where we're going. As the shuttle changed course, Vega carefully applied the solvent to Navarra's skin. Slowly, patches of her crystalline epidermis became visible, though they remained dull and lifeless. We need to know what we're walking into, Darius said to Rhodes. How many of you are there? The Astral Accord? Rhodes smiled faintly. Hundreds spread throughout Earth's military and civilian infrastructure. People who believe humanity's future lies in cooperation with other species, not domination. Why haven't you acted before now? We needed a catalyst. Rhodes nodded toward Navarra. Something to unite people, to make them see. When she reached out during that public display, her message spread beyond just you. Darius remembered Navarra's words. Through us, others will understand. She was broadcasting to anyone receptive. Exactly. Decades of propaganda cracked open in an instant. Those of us with the right neurological profile felt it. The truth about the Lamidians, about how the military leadership has been manipulating information to justify their expansion. As they approached the orbital station, disguised as a supply vessel with forged clearance codes, Darius sat beside Navarra. Her breathing had stabilized, but she remained incredibly weak. We will free them all, her voice whispered in his mind. Save your strength, he urged. You don't understand. Her fingers weakly clasped his. My people, we are connected. What one knows, all can learn. When I touch the others, they will know everything I've experienced. Everything I've learned about humanity through you. Vega approached with concern. Her vital signs are fluctuating. Is she communicating with you? Yes, Darius confirmed. She says when we free the others, they'll share a telepathic connection. They'll know everything she knows. Including that some humans are allies, Rhodes added thoughtfully. That could change everything. The infiltration of Laboratory 9 began smoothly. Rhodes' access codes got them past the initial security checkpoints, and their forged credentials held up under basic scrutiny. Dressed as maintenance personnel, they moved purposefully through the corridors of the research wing. Containment cells are on sublevel 3, Vega murmured, consulting her data pad. Stellar simulation chamber is adjacent. Security will be heaviest there. They descended in the service elevator, Navarra hidden on a maintenance cart covered with equipment. With each level, Darius felt her growing agitation and something else, a rising sensation of other presences nearby. She can sense them, he told the others. The other Lamidians. They're alive. The doors opened onto a sterile white corridor. 2 guards stood outside a reinforced door marked Xenobiological Research Authorized Personnel Only. Rhodes nodded to 2 of his team who stepped forward confidently. System upgrade, one announced, presenting documentation. Direct orders from Colonel Hastings. While the guards reviewed their credentials, Darius felt Navarra's consciousness surge. Suddenly, the lights throughout the corridor fluctuated, dimming and brightening in rapid succession. The guards looked up in confusion, just long enough for Rhodes' team to subdue them with targeted stun pulses. Vega quickly overrode the security lockdown, and the doors slid open. Inside, the sight stole Darius's breath. 6 Lamidians hung suspended in transparent chambers, their skin dull but intact. Various machines monitored and extracted data from their captive bodies. Unlike Navarra, these appeared fully sedated, unaware of their surroundings. Get them out, Darius ordered, wheeling Navarra into the room. And find the stellar simulator. As Rhodes' team worked to deactivate the containment fields, Vega located the adjacent laboratory. Here. This is what we need. The stellar simulation chamber was a marvel of technology, designed to recreate the specific spectral outputs of various star types for research purposes. Originally built to test equipment destined for deep space missions, it now offered their only hope. Help me get her inside, Vega called. Together, They carried Navarra's weakened form into the chamber. Vega studied the controls, adjusting settings with expert precision. Lamidians evolved under a K-type orange star, she explained. More infrared in the spectrum than our sun. I'll try to approximate. An alarm suddenly blared throughout the facility. Security breach detected. All personnel initiate lockdown protocols. They've discovered the guards, Rhodes said grimly. We have minutes at most. Vega activated the simulator. Gradually, the chamber filled with brilliant orange-gold light, bathing Navarra in radiance that precisely matched her home star. For several agonizing seconds, nothing happened. Then, like a miracle, light began to ripple across Navarra's skin, weak at first, then growing stronger. Her eyes flew open, now glowing with their natural silver-blue luminescence. The others, she gasped. Bring them. One by one, Rhodes' team carried the sedated Lamidians into the stellar chamber. As each one was exposed to the light, their skin began to reawaken, patterns of luminescence spreading across their bodies. Navarra, growing stronger by the second, moved among them, touching each one briefly. With every contact, the patterns of light intensified, information visibly flowing between them through their bioluminescent communication. Outside the chamber, the situation was deteriorating rapidly. Security forces had reached their level and were converging on the laboratory. We can't hold them off forever, Rhodes warned, as his team secured the doors. We won't need forever, Darius replied, watching in as the Lamidians began to rise, their combined light now almost blinding in its intensity. Navarra approached the chamber's transparent wall, placing her hand against it. On the other side, Darius matched his palm to hers. What your leaders feared most is about to happen. Her voice echoed in his mind, stronger than ever. True connection between our peoples. The laboratory doors burst open as security forces poured in, weapons raised. At the same moment, the light from the Lamidians intensified to an impossible brilliance. It pulsed outward in a silent explosion that passed through walls and bodies alike. Darius felt it wash over him. Not just light, but pure information. Images of Lamidian history, culture, and knowledge flooded his consciousness. He understood in an instant that this was being broadcast not just to those in the room, but throughout the station, to Earth below and beyond, carried on subspace frequencies that human technology had barely begun to understand. The security forces froze, their weapons lowering as the same revelation struck them. The light faded, leaving everyone blinking in stunned silence. One by one, the soldiers looked at the Lamidians with new understanding reflected in their eyes. The barrier between species had been irrevocably breached. What just happened? Rhodes whispered. Navarra emerged from the chamber, her skin now brilliant with constantly shifting patterns of light. The other Lamidians followed, each one radiating with restored vitality. The beginning, she said aloud, her voice melodic and clear. What you just experienced is only a fraction of what our peoples can share. The commanding officer of the security team removed his helmet, his face transformed by wonder. I saw everything. Your world. Your people. The truth. Yes, Navarra confirmed. And now, so has everyone within our broadcast range. Darius understood the implications immediately. The Joint Chiefs can't hide this. They can't keep spreading lies about the Lamidian threat when millions just experience the truth firsthand. In the days that followed, Earth experienced upheaval unlike anything in its history. The military leadership attempted to deny what had happened, claiming mass hallucination or alien mind control. But too many had experienced the Lamidian revelation. Soldiers, civilians, politicians, ordinary people from all walks of life. The peace negotiations that began weren't simple or easy. Centuries of human expansionism couldn't be undone overnight. But for the first time, they were founded on mutual understanding rather than fear and deception. Darius and Navarra stood together on the observation deck of the newly established diplomatic outpost Harmony, watching as ships from both worlds moved freely through space around them. They chained you and mocked you for daring to connect with a human, Darius said softly. They never imagined it would change everything. Navarra's skin rippled with patterns that Darius now recognized as contentment and affection. Sometimes the strongest chains are made of fear and ignorance. Breaking those was always going to hurt. She took his hand, and light flowed between them, a bond that transcended species, a revolution born in stardust.